Hey guys, I hope you're all having a great day. I'm really excited today to chat to Bailey. He's our number 4th in our Capsule Conversations at NCC. Bailey has a really interesting history. He came into NCC after doing a placement here, and it worked out well for both of us, both the team and Bailey by all sounds. He's got a really great aspect and perspective on compounding, having come from a non-pharmacy background. Also, it's great to hear some of the things that Bailey likes to do externally to what he does at NCC. Really grateful, really excited. Please tune in. And again, if you want to have a chat in a capsule with me at any stage, please. Thanks, Bailey, for taking the time out of your day today, and enjoy, guys. We'll see you soon. G'day, Bailey.
Hey, how you going?
Awesome. Thank you for coming in for our 4th capsule conversation.
4th already?
Yeah, I know. We sort of gained a bit of momentum. Eliza put me under the pump to get it all set up. After a few learning lessons along the way, we're now at the stage where I think we've got a bit of a system set up, and thank you for taking up the challenge to come and have a chat.
No, that's okay. Hopefully more people are inspired by this.
Yeah.
Because I'd be keen to see some people do it.
Absolutely. I think we've talked about that internally, haven't we? There's been a few nominations and a few uncertainties, but the more we have more momentum we build, hopefully the more we can get the podcast going.
Yeah.
So look, like we've said before, the idea of a capsule conversation is literally just to ignore the busy environment around us. I'd love to learn a bit more about you, love to learn about what excites you in terms of compounding, also learn more about you personally, and hopefully share it with the rest of the team so they also get to know more about you.
Awesome.
How's it sound?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Oh, so look, open up the batting. Tell me a bit more about Bailey.
What is there to say? Where do I start? Well, I'll start from the start, I suppose. My first experience with compounding, or really even just pharmacy in general, was through a placement that I did here. I think it must have been 2.5 years ago now, that I did through Griffith University. They gave me the choice between here and somewhere else, and I chose somewhere else, but I ended up coming here because the other place didn't want me after I met the owner, and that was turned out to be one of the best decisions that I've made, because I think I knew coming from placement, getting to know the team, getting to know it's changed a bit, my duties obviously, but getting to know sort of what the workflow was like. I could see myself here, and I was lucky enough to be offered a position towards the end of my placement by yourself. And then the rest, as they say, is history.
Cool.
It's been 2.5 years of challenge solving. Mostly challenge solving, I'd like to say, but in a rewarding way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thinking a bit more about the university course that you're in, and then the type of placement that you came for, and then the placement that was, hard to imagine that you would have thought a compounding pharmacy would have been something on the radar for placement.
Yeah. I was surprised myself that was one of the offers that I believe Matthew Zunk from Griffith said that was something that I might be interested in. And I was a bit skeptical at first because I didn't think that actual like pharmacy community or compounding would be something that I was super interested in. But he was right, darn it, as he tends to be. And I think it was only a 2-week placement, I believe, and it only took about a week to know that this was actually something that I was interested in. I didn't get to interact with patients as such much during my time from placement, but I think just being in the room with, we all share one office, and you get to hear the pharmacists talking about these sort of niche sort of edge cases, as tends to be sort of the case with compounding, and it piqued my interest. So yeah.
That's awesome. And for the listeners out there, what were you studying at uni?
I was studying my bachelor in pharmacology and toxicology.
Yeah. Awesome. And then obviously you did your placement here, got a bit of interest. I still remember the whole team actually saying, wow, this guy's very astute and he's professional and And we may have had placement students up until that point that may not have been the caliber, and we were sort of taken away by the skills that you had on offer. And I still remember saying I'm sure it was Kelly at one stage, she said, wow, he's an amazing student. I said, well, just put pressure on him. Let's see if he is interested to join.
Yeah.
No idea if it was going to work out or not, but here we are.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Truly history. Yeah. I think it's, you certainly need, I think this applies to most positions in health where you need a certain sort of work ethic to be successful. And thankfully, like to thank my managers at Kmart for drilling that into me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the really impressive thing you've always sort of done is had multiple jobs at the same time while trying to balance. How do you handle all of that stuff?
Well, I go to hang out with some mates and I check my bank account and I think, wow, might need to pick up some shifts after this night out. But I think it's just a tendency to want to occupy myself. And with working here specifically, I think it's a really good place to not only work, but also to be constantly learning new things. I think the nature of the job and the problem solving aspect of it is that in effort to help patients and affiliates, you're sort of learning things as you go along, sort of relevant clinical knowledge, technical knowledge, that sort of thing. So it's rewarding in that way as well.
That's awesome. Do you mind just digging into, since you started here in the role, how has that evolved in the last couple of years?
I think that when I first started here, starting with placement, I was just sort of on the research end, sort of tidying up some CMIs, just sort of reference information on medications for patients. I think that sort of evolved into I was a bit of a jack of all trades, I think, was the idea when I started. I got to do a bit of serving customers, sort of those customer facing roles, as well as the sort of back of house stuff in the lab, compounding, as well as the dispensing and sort of checking in that way. So I don't think it's evolved per se. I think that my set of skills has certainly expanded. I've become sort of more confident in my ability to troubleshoot when it pops up from time to time. And I've been more confident in my ability to deal with those sort of customer facing things without too much more assistance, if not necessary. As far as evolution, I don't think that the scope of my position has really changed much from when I started. I think that I've just developed within it. Awesome.
And for those on the team that know you well, you sort of get, like you said, jack of all trades between customer facing, processing, formulating, then sometimes to help the lab team out.
Yeah.
How do you enjoy the variety?
Variety keeps it fresh. I think that as much as I enjoy any one aspect of the job, it is nice to switch it up. It is nice to, I think that different aspects of my job require a different mindset, and it's nice to, when I feel like I'm getting stagnant maybe, or if I feel like I'm getting maybe a bit too comfortable in the position that I'm in, to sort of change it up. It's like a cold splash of water to the face. It's nice to sort of reinvigorate after a while of doing the same thing. Yeah, and I enjoy that aspect of my job maybe the most.
Awesome. So a bit of variety.
Yeah.
Very cool. What's something that we might not know about Bailey as Bailey? What's something unique about you?
Unique is that I don't know how many people know this. I think that I can be pretty competitive when it comes to achieving my goals. I think that under the facade that is Bailey, I have a bit of a competitive streak, and that might be from I think in high school. Yeah, it was high school. We actually went to the districts and won the district championship for table tennis. So
awesome.
That's where.
So if we were to ever be able to find space for a table tennis table, I might be on your team.
Yeah,
if that's okay. Yeah. We'll all join Bailey's. Yeah. That's really cool. Really cool. And I guess I'd love to now know sort of your opinion on compounding and NCC, given that you went through, am I right in saying, more of like a lab scientific orientated uni degree?
Yeah, certainly a more preclinical, also sort of industrial in that sense. More on like the drug development and the phases that come with that. I think that, and this goes back to what we were saying before, but I think that I was surprised at how much crossover there was between what I had learned for my role, which would have been preparing me for a more industrial sort of preclinical lab work thing, and compounding. I think that my view on pharmacy, just from having never worked in a pharmacy prior to working here, was that I'm totally guilty of being one of those people who thought that a pharmacist's job was to label boxes and to stand there. I know that now that's not true. And that within compounding, there is actually a large space that we do a lot of development. We're always looking into new possibilities for helping patients. I know a big, everyone has their eyes on the IV wellness and longevity side of health at the moment. And that's really interesting seeing that space develop. And it's interesting being a part of that space as well, sort of being on the cutting edge of trying to provide patients with sort of like IV wellness infusion sort of things. Yeah, it's completely different from what I expected.
Yeah, cool. And having that sort of industrial preclinical knowledge previously, how have you found that assisted you now in the sort of the really innovating stuff that you're involved in, like you were just describing?
It certainly applies. Yeah, a lot of what I learned, and specifically the mindset that they drill into you throughout tertiary education, the mindset of sort of a detail-oriented outlook really does help. It's come to my benefit a lot of times working here, especially when I'm trying to review literature to see sort of like possible avenues of development of products. I think that knowledge and that ability to sift through oodles and oodles of data has really helped me.
Awesome. So you made a really good point before about sort of the general patient's understanding of pharmacists and pharmacies, and sometimes compounding pharmacies they've not even heard of before. How have what would you say, now that you've been from where you were to where you are, to try and help people understand a pharmacist role, but also a pharmacy assistant's role, and then a compounding pharmacy role?
Yeah, so it sort of comes with the territory that the nature of compounding for a long time had been for sort of more niche, off-label dispensing and compounding of drugs that people wouldn't necessarily know off the top of their head. Like I'm sure that many people have been inside a pharmacy before and are pretty familiar with like the layout and what to expect. But a lot of people, even when they're in a compounding pharmacy, we're constantly getting asked, so what do you do here? And then we'll explain to them that we compound medications, essentially. It's not even so much of like a niche anymore. It's becoming more and more a space of people who aren't perhaps satisfied with the options that are available to them through community or commercial means. They can come here and try and find a way to meet their needs as both a patient and a customer, to try and get something like a medication or even like a wellness product that suits them. It really is a case of one size does not fit all when it comes to medication. And people who are particularly clued onto that will come to us and say, well, what can you do for me? I have this particular set of needs and I'd like to have it filled. And I don't think that I've tried going the traditional route of a community pharmacy and I wasn't satisfied with what I got there. And then we say, more than happy to help. We have a lot of tools that we can use to assist a patient in this regard. And I think that many times we've received a lot of gratitude from a patient who has come with the story of tried so many things, been to so many different prescribers and specialists, just trying to find something that will work for me. I never knew that this sort of thing as compounding was even an option for me. And now my problem is manageable, which is really, that's one of the rewarding parts of the job as well, is people who had all but given up hope on managing a particular condition, fairly well-known conditions as well, where even maybe even due to their prescriber not being particularly familiar with compounding, they will put them on something where they aren't satisfied with like the side effects that come with it, and they'll have no idea that there are options available. There are fairly well researched options available to them, and we can help them. So yeah, that's what I'd like them to know. There is always another option, and there's always a way to help beyond what may at first seem available.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really, really nicely articulated. I'd love to sort of take a step back a few months to a dad that comes to mind whose child had a series of challenges and a series of commercial meds that didn't really work. And I remember quite well just the efforts you went to help them review what they were taking. I think they had gastric emptying issues, so they couldn't. So, I mean, there's certainly, that's probably the most prominent one we've had in recent times where it was such a large opportunity. Tell me a bit about, how your relationship with dad went, and, sort of the process you went through to try and help them do something for their child that the standard off-the-shelf medicine couldn't do.
Of course. So if my memory serves, then, and this tends to be the case with a lot of customers who are coming from that route of trying a lot of things, especially for their young one, that don't quite stick. They initially presented as quite frustrated, not at us, obviously, but just with sort of a dissatisfaction with the health like industry as a whole, and not being able to help their child. It always sort of turns around when what the patient hears goes from being something like, this is as much as we can do, you can try this, and if it's not successful, you'll have to try something else to manage. When it goes from that to being something like, this is something that we have seen before, and we have found that our patients have had success with treating. You're not alone in having this problem. It's not such an oddity where we aren't completely unable to help you. And with your help, we'd like to try and make something for you that will successfully treat your child's condition. And it's always like a flip to gratitude, which is it's really gratifying to see that even still considered niche by a lot of people, compounding serves a large role in people who are often refractory with their conditions. They've tried a lot of things, as I was saying before, and to see them go from a sort of hopeless state of wondering how they're going to be managing a condition to being hopeful again that something that we can provide to them will help them manage that condition. It's great. It's one of the better parts of the job. And I remember, I'm not sure if they left a review or not, but I remember just feeling a lot of warmth from that interaction once they learned that we were able to help. So yeah, really inspiring.
That's awesome. Well done. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for taking care of them. It's really great. I'd love to sort of get your futuristic take, Ben, on what compounding is about now, but the futuristic take is what could happen in the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Where do you see the very small industry going inside the larger pharmacy industry?
I think that the direction that things have been going, at least since I started here, is that it's less of a niche for conditions where they've tried other things in the past, and more of, in the case of some conditions, a first step for conditions and for medications that don't necessarily have the financial backing or the interest in researching more on like a drug development route, because potentially a company will not see the merit in developing a drug. I think that more and more people are cluing onto the fact that if there is an available drug potentially overseas and there is a lot of research about it, but no big company is willing to take the dive to develop a product out of it, then it's something that could potentially be done with compounding. The research is there, the safety data is there, and frankly, the interest is there. Then it's something that we've typically said, okay, well then we could potentially do something about this, and we do it for a lot of medication that is available somewhere else that isn't Australia. It's near impossible to get in Australia, save through maybe a rigorous special access scheme, and it's something that would be life-changing for a patient. Not to name any specifics, but there are a large number of patients that we do help where this medication is the difference between them being able to live their life independently. So I think that the direction that I would like to see compounding go in is being less of an option for the refractory and more of a first step for people, and to gain sort of recognition from prescribers that, hey, if there is a medication that has some literature behind it, has some backing, and it's something that you think can help your patient, and you're not necessarily sure on how it would be feasible to access it, then contact your local compounding pharmacy and see if it's something that they can help you out with, because it's happened before. Prescribers have taken the leap and have contacted us to see if we can do something for their patient, and we have been able to do it. We do it fairly regularly, and now it's changed their life. So I'd just like more people to be aware that compounding is an option.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. What do you think needs to happen in the Australian health landscape for that compounding as a first option to really take off? What are limitations that you see at the moment?
Limitations is that guidelines are fairly tricky sometimes. I'd like to see that, and I know it's tricky. I think it would be naive for me to say that I'd like for us to be able to compound things that might be available commercially. Say, for example, I'd like for us to be able to compound things, but big pharma is getting in the way. And I understand that the only reason that these drugs have the research backing to begin with is because these companies have put in a lot of money to research these active ingredients and the safety and all that, and they need to make that money back. But I think that, and it's not considered to be so when you learn about compounding, but I think that a really big factor in a patient's compliance to take a drug can be the price. And things that aren't available on the PBS, just because they're on the PBS doesn't mean that they're like a low impact drug, right? So something that isn't on the PBS that is available commercially, and the difference between a patient's compliance on improving their condition is the price. I think that there should be another option. I don't think that bankruptcy should be the option for someone who just wants to live their life without their life being run by their condition. And I'd like to be able to help those people without sort of the roadblock in many cases of those guidelines that are telling us, hey, if this thing is commercially available, like you can't help them. You have to turn them away, and they have to spend an arm and a leg to getting their medication. I don't think that should be the case. I think that it should definitely be up to the prescriber. It should be up to the patient as well. And it should be something that we're able to assist them with that, because it's a triangle, right? It's a care triangle between the patient, the prescriber, and the pharmacist. I think that, in this case, legislation does get in the way.
Very, very true. Totally agree with you. And yeah, I think the thing that comes to mind after a number of years in the general pharmacy industry for me is that the patients now have so much information available that they can make that conscious choice better than they ever have been in the past. And to your point, I think our role as health professionals at any end of the triangle should be to fulfill their requests, requirements within the safety of what's okay and what's not. But yeah, I think you make an awesome point, which should be discussed a lot more at a lot higher level.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that affect patient outcome, right? And I think that if we can make it any easier for the patient to get to that outcome, then why not do that? Like, is that not our role as health professionals to deliver good outcomes for a patient?
Yeah, absolutely agree. Do you mind if we, if I get some feedback from you on the team and the dynamics of the team? And you touched earlier on the dynamics of the role, which were awesome and really interesting. So tell me a bit about the team and the makeup of the team, and your sort of initial feelings around it versus roles and jobs you might have previously had to where you see things now and where you see things going.
Sure. I think that the makeup of the team is fairly. There's a lot of different experiences that make up our team, in that it's not a thing where you go to university to train to become someone who works in a compounding pharmacy. I think there's a lot of different strokes that make up our workplace here and our team culture. And I think that comes to our great benefit because there's always a lot of different ideas at times can be clashing, but in a good way, to sort of try and make a synthesis of a lot of different ideas. I think that the pharmacists here learning more about what a typical community pharmacist role is, it's a lot different. But at the same time, I talk to pharmacists about their sort of interest in community over compounding, and I think there's a clear sort of person that wants to be a pharmacist but maybe doesn't want to pursue community as a role and are more suited for compounding. And I think that's really interesting to see as well. And even besides the office team, I think that the lab team as well is made up by a lot of different people with different sort of beliefs on how things should be done, but all with incredible work ethic. And I thought that was really interesting to see when I came. It's a big thing in the lab as well, just because the nature of the job, I think no matter what the position within a compounding pharmacy, the nature of the job is problem solving. And I think that having a lot of different experiences, even within the lab team, can help to deliver a product that is maybe better than if the lab team was made up by like the same kind of person repeated 10 times. It's really awesome to see a lot of people putting their heads together to come up with the best solution for the patient and for us.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is there a moment that comes to mind for you, sort of a challenge that you've had to work through inside the team? How has the team dynamic that you just mentioned helped that? What was the outcome? Anything come to mind?
Okay. I think that we're fortunate enough to have time to meet up within the team once a week to discuss these sort of things. I think at first, when I first joined, there was sort of, and this will happen with any business, I think that there was always ideas being thrown around, but never anything would be followed through with some of those frankly great ideas that people were having. And I think being able to have a frank chat with the rest of my team once a week and to be able to discuss and sort of pick apart these ideas, like what would make them work, what doesn't make them work. I think I've seen a lot of growth in our processes within the last year and a half, I believe, since we've started meeting. I've seen a lot of growth there, particularly just because it's now become a space where no one's really afraid to have their say heard and to have us sort of approach it in, even if critical and at least constructively critical manner. And we've put a lot of things into place, just thinking from recent memory, where that never would have happened if we didn't have some sort of way to voice that. And I think, it's definitely for the better.
Cool. So for those playing from their desks, the Bloom growth meetings with that framework of sort of introduction, discussion, headlines, then issue solving.
Yeah.
You reckon it's been for the better?
Oh, it's been for the better. Especially especially since you'll never really get our whole team within the same room. It's good for even other teams, pharmacist team, office team, lab team, customer service team. It's good for them to be able to raise issues that, because of the difference in our regular duties, we wouldn't really flag as being an issue or like an insufficiency in like an existing process. It's good for them to be able to speak to us and have sort of their voices heard in that way. And there was a lot of things where the way that we were doing it before was fine for us, but would make a real headache for another team. And the only way that I would have ever learnt that was because of these suggestions that are put forth in the meetings. Like you sort of don't realize that you're working sometimes within a bubble when it comes to what your duties do and don't involve. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's really cool. Really cool. Thank you for the feedback. I'd love to, you've been awesome to chat about all the work-related stuff, but I'd love to know what outside of work do you get up to? What do you enjoy doing externally?
Sure. I think I've been on my health kick for the last year or so. I've been going to the gym. That people will say that that's not really an interesting hobby to have, but I think that, I don't know, I think anything self-improvement is interesting to me. I think that I get a lot out of being a better version of myself, as rote as that sounds. I think that it develops confidence as well, which has helped me in this role. And yeah, it's just great to feel great and to look great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of the gym, I do like, I enjoy art. I've always enjoyed art and art appreciation. I think from a very young age to now. So that's something I like to do, and visual arts as well. I like to draw and I like to paint. Outside of that, nothing particular. Like I'm keen to do anything. I'll hang out with my friends, and even though it won't be a particular hobby, we'll try a lot of things together, see what sticks and what doesn't. So yeah, I'm pretty simple with simple needs, but generally pretty happy.
I think you underestimate yourself. You're very sophisticated.
Too kind.
You mentioned earlier when we were catching up about you like competition, maybe internal competition. Any goals set for this gym, for this, health kick?
I think that my goal set originally about a year and a half ago was I weighed about 64 kilos on a good day, and I wanted to increase sort of muscle tone and weight. And I think I've blown past that slightly because the eating's been a bit easier than the gymming. So my goal now is to sort of maintain the weight I'm at, but maybe add some bulk.
Awesome. Well, best of luck.
Yeah,
sounds good. Sounds really good. So is there anything you'd love to leave with people that are watching? Maybe they're new team members, they're existing team members. What you've highlighted throughout the chat has been really, really interesting. I think it's been sort of hopefully quite provoking to others to have those discussions. And like you said about the role of what we as a business do and what compounding can do for patients, you said it really, really nicely. What sort of takeaways would you love to leave with people that are watching?
Sure. As far as what I want people to take away from this is that, coming from my personal experience, and I'm sure a lot of other of my teammates' personal experience, is that the road to compounding was a winding one. So if I was sitting at home wondering if compounding was right for me as a position, as a job, then don't think so much about the skills that you've developed specifically for compounding. Think about what skills that you do have that you can apply to compounding, because really the skills that help me out the best are skills that I developed for different things, like sort of work ethic wise, accountability, my ability to counsel patients, and that they weren't developed specifically with compounding in mind. It was a winding road to get here. So if there's anyone out there that is interested in compounding as a position, then you might be surprised to learn that a lot of the skills that you've already developed would make you a great fit for a compounding role. And for anyone who is listening to this, who is struggling with a condition where it seems like there's not much chance to manage it any better than you're doing currently with medication from community, I do encourage you to do your own research and to ask questions, because it's never one size fits all. There are a lot of conditions where it's a grouping of symptoms under a large umbrella, and the treatment for that is currently inadequate. I would encourage you to do research and to have these discussions with your prescriber, and to maybe see what other countries are doing and doing successfully to treat these conditions, because it might be something that compounding can help you with.
Awesome. Really, really cool. A call to action for patients and future team members. Really cool. What's a goal that you'd like to, or you have set yourself in the workplace? Where do you see yourself for the next 12 or 24 months?
I'd like to, and I've been thinking about this recently. I'd like to refine my own processes to a point where, because I'll preface this with saying that the day-to-day duties that involve myself can differ quite widely based on what day it is, because the nature of compounding is that sometimes it will be a flood and sometimes it'll be a little bit less so. So I think that I'd like to be able to refine my processes to a point that completing my daily duties, even on those days where it is flooding, is never an issue. I'd like to be able to do all of my dispensing accurately. I'd like to be able to help the other members of my team, even when I am very busy, if it's something that I can solve with just a few sentences. And I'd like to be able to stay on top sort of mentally. It's hard sometimes, especially when you have, we'll say, frustrated patients who are unsatisfied with their current level of care coming from somewhere else, and that can sort of feed into your own sort of mental stress for a day. I'd like to be a little bit more confident in sort of maintaining my own mental state and not letting it affect my work.
That's awesome, Bailey. Well, absolutely full credit to you on all that you do here, and thank you from the team and I for all that you contribute. So it's been awesome to chat to you today. Anything else you want to leave with us?
I'd like to give a shout out to the Miami High Table Tennis Club for making me who I am today. That's awesome. And look, if you wanted to share this video with them, that would be awesome too. So again, you're a great asset to the team. Thank you for the awesome chat today, and love to chat to you soon. Thank you very much. Awesome.